greatest Briton my ass. A half-American, Winston Churchill was a turncoat of the highest order, repeatedly shunning political party to make sure he stayed in power. He began as a Tory, and with their landslide defeat in 1906 crossed the floor to the Liberals, and received the friendly treatment defectors usually do, so that by the First World War he was in a position to have huge numbers of soldiers killed by his rank incompetence. Specifically by his obsession with the idea that the mountainous south of Europe constituted a soft underbelly. This is what led to the sacrifice at Gallipoli. All for nothing. After the war the Liberal Party split in half and collapsed, so Churchill immediately took himself back across to the Tories. Not only was he a defector this time, he was also a known troublemaker who the Tory leadership thought might start a backbench rebellion against them. So they made him Chancellor. Apparently when he was first contacted about this he assumed they meant Chancellor of the Duchy of Lancaster, which is a nice powerless position which might be just enough of a sop to keep a rabble-rouser too busy to cause trouble. In fact they meant Chancellor of the Exchequer, and he immediately set about sabotaging the national economy, probably through another example of his pathetic incompetence. Taking power over the economy he immediately returned to the gold standard, which strengthened the currency and thereby crippled all export industries and led to a massive rise in unemployment. In turn this led to the Great Strike, to which Churchill responded by putting soldiers on the streets and seizing control of the media. Ever an authoritarian and an enemy of democracy was Churchill. It's true that he was right about the threat posed by the Nazis, despite his fondness for Mussolini. However, I wonder if other people might have taken the Nazis more seriously if it wasn't for the fact that Churchill, who had been wrong about everything in his entire life other than how to betray people in pursuit of power for himself, was the one championing the idea that the Nazis posed a threat. Come the war he was a very bad negotiator and administrator, but he seized more power for himself and the war allowed his only other skill to shine, public speaking. Come the end of the war, on the other hand, he was immediately voted out at the first opportunity, having engineered 10 years without an election to keep himself in power. He was actually stoned by a crowd during his attempt to be re-elected in 1945 and decided to claim that his wartime deputy, the leader of the Labour Party, was planning to establish a Gestapo to force socialism on the people of Britain. He only became Prime Minister through an election in 1951, and luckily he was too senile to do any real damage by that time. So no, he was not the greatest Briton, not even the greatest Briton called Churchill, thanks to the first Duke of Marlborough, John Churchill, who defeated the French at Blenheim and in various other battles. But as the man himself said, history will be kind to me, for I intend to write it. Incidentally, he also wasn't a very good historian,